listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location at Cinemajaw Studios in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is...
Rye the Movie Guy, and sitting alongside us is Filmy and Phil.
Hello, how are we all?
This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, we swim upstream as we cover our top 5 movies of the little guy fighting against the system.
Ryan, have you ever fought against the system? You strike me as a with the grain.
No, I mean, it depends, right? I mean, slowly, I
like your
can.
hat, by the way.
Thank
the
you.
TIFF hat, yeah.
TIFF.
Yeah.
I was just there. Yes, I do fight the system on certain things.
Bullshit.
I know, I do.
What?
I'll-
your coffee isn't hot enough at Starbucks?
No, I'll give you a great example. I can't stand these red light camera tickets, right?
Okay, yeah.
I mean, nonstop.
Nobody likes them.
No, nobody likes them. But again, this is one of those where I literally wrote in, talked about, the intersection that I was
Who'd you
at.
write to? Like your alder person? Or?
No, I mean, you can write back because I had gotten a ticket, and I went out and I photographed the whole entire intersection and explained exactly what was happening, trying to, get out of the ticket.
Yeah, you Kramered it?
In the meantime, they just didn't even listen to me at all. And because I was late in paying the ticket, they were going to double the ticket. And I was like, I'm just fighting the system. There's no way now I'm paying double for this ticket. It was up to like $200 and some dollars.
How long was the boot on your car?
Well, let's just say they end up eventually getting the money from your tax. If you get money back from your state income tax, they do eventually take it out of it. But I fought it as long as I could. But eventually they get their money.
I just want to point out that Ryan gets here via rideshare and scooter all the time, which I think is starting to add up in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the boot is still on his car.
Now, that's just because I hate driving in the city, so I bike everywhere.
Then how'd you get the ticket?
Long story. Well, we got a guest that's going to help us with this list, Matt.
Yes, we do. Dan Stewart is joining us. He's a filmmaker. He's got a new movie coming out entitled Local Band, which I just watched, and I really enjoyed it, so I can't wait to talk to him all about that.
Yes, can't wait to talk to Dan. Plus, it is still Michelle Yeoh month, and
Yo.
we are reviewing a big movie called Dumb Money.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Hence the tie-in of fighting the system.
Right, and also Dan's movie as well is kind of fighting the system.
Exactly, it's a
way.
punk rock
yeah,
movie.
There's some punk rock in it.
Right, fighting the system. So Dumb Money, in honor of Dumb Money, we are playing money movie trivia. Think of movies with money in the title. Yourself first, Dan. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's not a lot of movies with money in the title.
Oh, you'd be shocked.
Really?
I wrote the questions.
Okay.
So there's quite a bit.
You're not counting like cents and like...
No.
I feel like just the word money has a lot, Matt.
It does.
Well, I can think of several off the top of my head, yeah.
All right.
That's a lot, then.
Jawheads, you get thinking about movies with money in the title. It is still Michelle Yeoh month.
Let's go rescue your silly raccoon.
And that means we kick off this podcast with a Michelle Yeoh fact.
Yes. So if it's one thing that I don't know if this is even like cool facts anymore. They are cool facts, but like I think the thesis of every Michelle Yeoh fact we've had is that she's incredibly active and like incredibly good with moving her body, and we're keeping in line with that tradition. Just like Greta Gerwig from July, our person of the month that month, Michelle Yeoh is a formerly trained ballerina. She started taking lessons when she was 4 and continued pursuing her dream after moving to London. She eventually enrolled herself in the prestigious Royal Academy of Dance. And you might be surprised to learn, Michelle Yeoh has never once had any martial arts training. Everything that she's learned to do and how she's used her body, she attributes to her natural aptitude she learned from ballet and kind of picked up doing that at a young age.
Kind of makes sense. There's like a dance or a flow to her movements in like a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon or
Exactly.
something. Yeah.
Like you need someone that can be well choreographed in a fight scene. And so a
Right.
ballerina, it makes complete sense.
It does.
Interesting.
That is a good fact, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we should thank Michelle.
Yes.
True.
Learning a lot about Michelle this month. And we're about to learn a lot about our guest, Matt Kay.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, Dan Stewart has a new movie out called Local Band. It is a punk rock movie right up Matt Kay's alley. Dan Stewart, welcome to Cinemajaw.
Hey, thanks for having me. I have regret to inform you I am not a trained ballet dancer. So.
It's not too late, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what are you doing later?
Yeah, I got all night, Sleep is the cousin of death. I could just stay up all night.
So you walk in, and I want to say for the Jawheads, he's wearing a Slayer shirt.
Yeah.
He's on our team, man.
Yeah. Dave Lombardo's in the Misfits now. I'm just saying.
I have a Misfits T-shirt that was a consideration for today's attire too.
I almost wore mine. That would have been awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're allowed to
That's
both
true.
like the Misfits. I say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I bring that up because how big of a fan of punk and like heavy metal are you? And that's what was the start of the idea of doing local band.
I'm a music fan of all sorts. I mean, I probably drift back to punk music in general. I play in a punk band here in Chicago called Damager. But for the most part, I listen to everything. I've gotten into, extreme metal at times. I'm a big fan of death and black metal bands as much as I like Waylon Jennings or whatever. And I think maybe the more esoteric performers and performances is kind of where it starts in the DIY scenes. Particularly like the genesis of this film comes from when I was living in St. Louis, actually. After my undergrad film school, where I went to University of Kansas, I moved back home to St. Louis, where I grew up, and I started going to a lot of local punk shows with some friends.
It's really great to hear that local punk shows is still a thing.
Yeah,
but
for
continue.
Sure. Yeah, no, the DIY scene and the like punk community is huge if you know
That's
where
great.
to look. Yeah,
Yeah, you got to know where to look.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
And so when I was in St. Louis, I was going to these shows, and it's funny in a place that's a smaller market like St. Louis because the venues are so unique, and so there's it's the circumstances that create them. There's one called the Sinkhole, and it's in this like
great name.
Yeah, and it's in this like apocalyptic part of town, and it's just a room, and there's like a small bar where they'll sell you like a beer, Bush Lights or whatever.
Right. There's no selection.
No, it's not. It's just
Here's
like
your beer.
Yeah, here's your beer. And we would see local bands, and it became like this running gag, and it's a gag that's reflected in the film too. Is like, it's like we'd come up with a weird phrase and be like, oh yeah, that's Scuba Cops. Yeah, they're actually playing at the Sinkhole next weekend. That became like the running gag because it's like such a strange place. And there was another place called Foam, which was like a coffee place by day, and then by night there's like no stage, but they had a PA, so that's enough, to do shows. And we'd go see these bands, and it would be like there's one I'll like never forget, which is a band that was touring from Texas, and it was like this one guy or maybe two guys. They wheel out like a folding table, and they start setting up all this like strange technology, like VCRs and oscillators, and maybe there was something with keys on it, and it's just like the set, quote unquote, started, and it's just like this wall of noise,
Just
like,
turning dials on distortion pedals.
Yeah, exactly. And the band was just called Terminator 2. And it's
I
like,
love it.
That is a great name for a band.
and you see that and you're like, that guy is not trying to make the top 40. That's not a person who's doing this for anything other than like they love to perform. They love being an artist and just doing that and like living it. And I felt like that was like super admirable, and it's something that I really related to as an artist, being like, making films and being a musician in my own ways. And so I was like, that's such a cool, funny story to tell, and something I think that a lot of people would relate to. And yeah, so that's kind of like the initial genesis of it, like the very, very core seed.
I mean, so you got a feature-length film out.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment. Where is it going? Where has it been? Like, what's the process now that the film's complete?
So we shot it last July, so July of 2022.
Looks great, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Our cinematographer Jeffrey Gabriel Silva is like super talented guy, like incredible. Did an incredible job on this. And so now it is complete, and we did one hometown screening at Beat Kitchen, and that was September 3rd. It was crazy. We did 180 tickets, like just this really awesome thing where the community like really came together, and all the people involved like got to show up, and we had some bands play, and it was awesome. That was sort of like the ideal, like, I mean, in a way it was like I can't ask for anything else. It was like the people who it was for were in the room, got to see it and enjoyed it. But going forward, it's like we're going to run the festival circuit, and in particular aiming at like festivals that cater to like truly independent DIY projects. So like the dream one is Slam Dance, and it's actually the first festival that we submitted to. And so yeah, so that's where we're going. So it'll probably take the next year to submit to stuff and run through the cycles. And I'm pretty certain that there will be a screening of some kind in Chicago in 2024 for sure.
Let us know, because we'll definitely spread the word. It occurs to me as we're talking about this, I don't think we've talked about the plot of the movie. Like, what's the 411, the view from 10,000 feet?
Yeah. So the film follows a fictional band called Minor Illusion, and
by the way, hate to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt. Were they actually playing those songs?
Yes.
Okay.
All the performances in the film are real.
So
awesome.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah, it's all live music. Like, and I wrote the original songs for the main band, and all the actors are musicians for the most part. Almost everyone in the movie is a musician.
Cool.
And so yeah, there's a fictional band called Minor Illusion. Our lead character, Lila Riley, is like a mid-20-something. She's working in the service industry, paying her rent check to check, but also trying to pursue playing in this punk band. And the movie sort of follows her and her band's trials and tribulations, kind of navigating the like surreal DIY punk scene in Chicago, trying to get one good show.
And I noticed that you used a lot of the venues in the city, one of them being the Hideout.
Yeah.
Were these connections that you already had? How open are these places to filming at their locations?
It's really, that was one of the biggest obstacles in production. It was, and I kind of appreciate, in a way, kind of the gamble of DIY filmmaking, in the sense that it's like, the first draft that I wrote, the film ended at the empty bottle, but
okay.
For like what we tried to do and what we got in contact with them, it was like, oh, you'd probably have to rent out the space, and that's, I won't say how much money they quoted us, but it's like
an exorbitant amount.
Yeah, yes. not money that we had. So there's that, and then some venues, it's like it was meant to be one thing as long as it was a dive bar, and then we kind of Phyllis's Musical Inn in Wicker Park is a place that we shot at.
I love it.
Yeah,
it was meant to be the Double Door, which is obviously no longer.
Well, the Double Door.
That's the first show that.
Yeah,
okay.
the first
I'm
show.
not trying to give anything away. Sorry.
Yeah, so in the very first scene, they play at Phyllis's Musical Inn in Wicker, and that was kind of just the product of like, we knew that it was a small, divey place with a sort of pseudo stage, and we pretty much just walked in there one day and asked to see the owner, and he was about it, and he's like, as long as that's a place that opens at 3 p.m. and stays open till 5 or whatever, so we're like, we can get in there and do it all in the morning. And then the Hideout in the film, that was actually a crazy coincidence, because my producer Jay came in. He has lived many places over the past year, but he came in and was living in Chicago for the month of production, and I don't know how it came together, but it just so happened that the person that he was staying with in Chicago was Michael from the Hideout, who's their program director. And we were just like,
nice.
Hey, totally kismet, crazy thing. We're shooting a movie about local music. Can we use the Hideout? And they were very accommodating. And so we got in there and shot those scenes. And then, everything just kind of comes together just like based on what we can do. There are definitely places that we tried to get into that they either wanted a lot of money, or it just kind of wasn't going to work, because, they're functioning businesses and they got to do what they do. But, but everything kind of is what it is because it was available or was convenient. And I kind of like love that, because it's kind of authentic to the story. It's like, what can you do with what you have?
Another theme of the movie, well, I don't know if this is a theme, a reoccurring thing, something I didn't have to think about back in my band days, is the social media, right? Like, bands have to sort of contest with this new, I guess it's not new anymore, the modern era.
Yeah. It's a totally different challenge than it would have been for, the Beatles, like, right. Obviously.
Or DIY kids in the 90s.
Sure, yeah. I mean, that's like for them. And then DIY bands from the 80s and 90s, like Black Flag, is self-distributing their tapes and booking their own tours just through calling around,
word of mouth.
Yeah, like that's probably their biggest challenges
Zines and stuff.
Yeah, but like I think in the current age, the thing is that you have to kind of exist via the internet. There are so many bands and so many people are so connected that to put yourself out there and try to make an impact and like kind of become visible amongst a lot of bands, you have to kind of do it online.
That's so weird. I'm glad I didn't have to swim in those waters, man.
Yeah. And TikTok in particular is like something that is name dropped in the movie is like one of those avenues. And that TikTok is so strange because it's kind of the only still weirdly democratized
Social media platform.
Social media, platform, because the algorithm will actually show you to people who are not actively looking for you. Versus like YouTube, in the beginning days of YouTube, it was like, anyone can be discovered, and there's evolution of dance guy, whatever.
Charlie bit my finger. Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's like TikTok's the only place that happens.
They'll take it away soon. Don't worry.
Eventually. Yeah, it'll be filtered out eventually for whatever makes the most money, but like bands like Beach Bunny or whoever have found their success stories because their song just happened to kind of catch on through TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And that, for me as a musician, I like hate it because I was like, I don't have like I'm a little bit older than the TikTok generation, and I just like don't understand. So I'm like frustrated. I'm like, all I can do is post an Instagram thing or like, here's the show. I don't know.
Was there any discussion that if the movie takes off and the public wants to see Minor Illusion actually in concert, would the cast get together as the band Minor Illusion and play shows around the city?
I would probably encourage those people to see the bands that the actors are in, the good ones. So our lead actress, Isa Martinez, is in a band called Cut Your Losses, a Chicago pop punk band that are really amazing, like incredibly talented musicians. And then Superkick are in the film. They're a 3-piece indie rock power pop.
They're almost like the secondary main characters.
Yeah. There's sort of a split narrative in the film, and they are sort of the B plot.
The B story, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they play themselves, and they do a damn good job.
I wouldn't have known that they weren't like actors, because there is a scene where like some other band scene people come in.
Yeah.
And, it's like the Ramones in Rock and Roll High School. You can tell when somebody is a musician and when somebody's an actor. And it's totally forgivable. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wanted to, and I think I enjoy the DIY spirit of casting non-actors. And also, like, I got into filmmaking, and I make films because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's the most fun when I'm with my friends. And so this movie was like the biggest possible scale of like, let's get my friends together, let's try to make each other laugh and have a good time, and also tell the story of the movie. But like, for the most part, it's like I like Superkick. Those guys are fun to hang out with, and I think they would be good in this role. And so
they were.
And so so sometimes people are musicians who are not actors or have no training or no experience, and they're kind of dipping their feet, and that's what it is. But for the most part, I think that it was just a really authentic, cool thing to have musicians playing musicians and be a part of a real world that they're a part of.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about having fun, and this question that I asked Jennifer Reeder a couple of weeks ago, I want to ask you, being a writer-director, and from the start of pre-production, production, the rollout of the film, all the way through, what's your favorite part of the process, and what's your least favorite part of the process?
Oh, man. I guess post-production and editing, because I also edited the film. And
that's your favorite?
It's my favorite and my least favorite.
Because, wow.
Yeah.
All in one.
As I love doing it because it's so satisfying, especially at the very beginning when things start cutting together for the first time. It's like, I cannot believe that we did this.
Yeah.
And it's like exhilarating. And then you get halfway into the process where things are like just not quite working yet, and you're like, why did we do this? This is the worst thing ever. And then at the end, it's like I seriously, like, editing this movie towards the end, like really putting the finishing touches on it. It would be week by week. I'd be like, oh, this is terrible. And the next week I'd be like, oh, I like it. And then the next week I'd be like, oh, it's bad. So yeah, it's such a weird like experience. And I think for all of my projects, it's like, you finish them and I'm like, oh man, I've learned so much since we shot this. And then like over time I kind of grow and I'm like, okay, it all makes sense now.
speaking of all your projects, I know Local Band is still early in its life, and it's going to be doing festivals and stuff like that. Hopefully we're talking about a Chicago festival. But what's next? What else are you working on?
I have some scripts, some more feature scripts of a greater scale, probably. What they taught us in film school was that once you start screening, that you start to have the opportunities to pursue bigger projects. But otherwise, and I have no idea. I just have no idea what happens now, like if we screen or whatever. But otherwise, it's I've been making a lot of music videos, kind of, again, still working in the Chicago DIY punk scene. I've been shooting a lot of live shows. So I've been around enough to kind of know acts that I know are really good live and love seeing, and I just want to kind of document it. And so I've been doing that and yeah, just smaller projects. And I'd love to kind of go back to even scaling it back a little bit more and shooting some DIY shorts and stuff with just friends and non-actors and stuff.
Well, keep it going, man.
Yeah. For the Jawheads listening to this that want to eventually see Local Band or find out more, keep track of it, where should we send them online to get updates?
The Local Band, the movie Instagram account is probably the one that I'm best at keeping fresh and updated and everything. So it's Local Band, the movie on Instagram.
Cool. We'll put a link in the show notes for everybody too.
Cool.
Sounds good. Dan is sitting in on this entire Jaw. He is actually the first guest in studio in our new Cinemajaw studios.
Yeah, welcome, man.
Yeah, this is
Nice.
awesome.
Momentous.
I know.
Breaking us in.
Yeah.
Dan has his top 5 favorite man against the system movies picked out. Before we get there, though, Matt, Dumb Money.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We are covering movies that depict people fighting back against the system today. There is no bigger system than the stock market here in the United States. Investing in the market was a way for the common man to make some money to start a savings, maybe even strike it rich. But lately, the system feels rigged, with the only players able to actually win being the large hedge funds with their deep pockets and insider information. Heck, dumb money is a term that refers to the collective investments of retail investors, the little guy. It plays on the idea that retail investors are not smart enough to understand the stock market and the perception that they will always lose. But this was not the case back in 2021 when one man saw GameStop as an undervalued stock, bought big into it, and convinced thousands of others to do the same. Is dumb money able to entertain while explaining the big picture? Matt and I made an investment in the film to find out.
Yo, what up, everybody? Roaring Kitty here. I'm gonna pick a stock and talk about why I think it's interesting, and that stock is GameStop.
I love this guy.
Retail traders have hooked into GameStop. I think they think it's a good investment. It looks like there's one guy driving all the buying.
Who is this schmuck?
Dumb money, man.
Happy to take it.
Dumb Money is the ultimate David vs. Goliath story. It gives us a comprehensive look at the GameStop stock story that captivated the country back in 2021. Small-time investors led by Keith Gill came together in the subreddit page called Wall Street Bets and began buying stock in the video game store GameStop, a stock Gill said was undervalued. Dumb Money works so well for a couple of reasons. For starters, it's downright hilarious. It also sports an amazing cast led by Paul Dano, Pete Davidson, America Ferrera, Seth Rogen, and Sebastian Stan. Whoever casted it should get a gold star, as they did a perfect job here. It's directed by Craig Gillespie, who also did I, Tanya, another true story told through humor with a talented cast. I found it explained enough of the stock trading inner workings while not boring us. It also manages to show the scope of the story. Yes, the focus is on Gill, but it also shows us how buying the stock affected people in the working class, college students, and even the hedge funds that were betting against the retailer. By doing so, the audience gets taken for a ride to see if the people can finally beat the system. I liken this to The Big Short, which did the same with the housing market collapse. Matt, I start off by asking you your initial take on Dumb Money. I was very high on it.
You were very high on it. I'm not very high on it. I liked it. I liked the story. Obviously, I'm a fan of what everybody did against the hedge funds with the GameStop stock. That was hilarious. And I liked the story's good, the cast is good, but the editing is atrocious in this movie.
Really?
I wish it was The Big Short because that was clever editing and really good. Like, let's to explain this, we're going to show Margot Robbie in a bathtub, and I'm not saying that because I like Margot Robbie in a bathtub. I'm saying that no, it was clever. it was a way to explain a difficult thing to get your mind around in an entertaining way. This movie doesn't do that. They lean on the memes of YouTube to their detriment. Like, how many times are we going to see the white cat bobbing his head, and like they just go to the same meme over and over and over again, and it's cut like a YouTube video. It's incredibly annoying. I get what they were going for because the main character Gil is a YouTuber, but I don't think it worked.
I didn't have an issue with that at all. I thought that brought some energy to it. I mean,
You don't
it was
watch
like
enough
a fast-paced edit, which I enjoyed. But I think the highlight here being the talented cast, mainly say like a Pete Davidson.
Okay, no, that's not where I would start.
Yeah, casting him as like the goofball brother is part of like what you're saying is you got to make this movie entertaining while explaining the inner workings of the stock market and why.
Yeah, I guess I liked Pete Davidson a little, but like Paul Dano was really the one to watch in this.
Oh yeah, he was great, and we'll get to that. But I think like Pete Davidson was hilarious. I think everybody was so well cast, is what I'm saying, is that the editing didn't really matter. It didn't bother me in one bit at all because the talented cast. I thought like everybody fit the role perfectly. Even
right.
Shailene Woodley, who's
Shailene Woodley was great.
Minor role as the wife, but she was still great in there as well. Like, she sticks with Gil.
I don't like the casting of Seth Rogen in this role at all.
Oh, I loved it.
No,
I
want to like Seth Rogen. He's too likable to be this douchebag. I didn't like his casting at all. It didn't put his talent on display. He didn't have a big acting moment like he did in what was Spielberg's movie,
The Fabelmans.
The Fabelmans. Nor did he have anything like funny where he had to use his famous laugh. Do we still have that on the soundboard?
Of course we do.
Listen to that. See, now that's a good soundbite.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the Seth Rogen that I love, and he is not in this movie at all. At all.
But I actually thought coming out of it, like, wow, there's actually a different role for Seth Rogen out there, because I never saw him in this sort of like serious, quote unquote, prick role where you just are like, he's a smug idiot. You know, you hate the guy, and there's nothing better that comes through in that deposition that he has to do. This was during COVID, so everybody had to like get in front of their computer and do this congressional deposition.
Yeah.
And when he's sitting there and in front of his camera, you just sort of hate the guy.
I know. I don't hate Seth Rogen. It didn't work for me. I don't think that was good casting at all.
Oh, I liked it also. Now, I came out of it, I saw this at Toronto, and I was talking to someone that was very familiar with the story. Her brother or somebody had actually bought some of the GameStop and made some decent money on the investment and such. And so she knew way more of the story than I did. Now, I knew the story. I followed along.
It was a big-ass story.
But I never took the deep dive down the rabbit hole and watched any documentary or knew the guy's name. I just knew what was going on, more or less. Mm-hmm. What was your take going into this movie?
I'm like everybody else, like a Bitcoin survivor, and I was hot on all that stuff. Still am a little bit to some extent. So I got the Robinhood app and I bought in.
Oh, you did?
I did.
So you actually bought GameStop stock?
Yeah, I missed the train by a mile. I didn't.
Of course you did.
No, it's okay. I didn't like put my life savings in.
Tell
or anything.
me more though. Did you lose money? I didn't know this.
Yeah, no, I lost, but we're talking like $50.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So basically your entire savings.
Yeah, right. I was like, I'm going to put in $50 and tomorrow it's going to be 500. Like, just you wait. And no, I had missed the boat, but it was fun nonetheless.
But did you, as far as the story goes, even though I didn't know that you invested in, but did you then, so you knew all the key players and such?
Dude, it was a huge story. Like they show in the movie, this went all the way to the White House, and in the press room, they were doing a press conference about it. Because of the shenanigans that the hedge fund and Robinhood got up to were downright evil.
Right. Well, that brings me to my next point. So I mentioned Seth Rogen being sort of a prick in the movie, but the other villain here is the creator of Robin Hood, who could have been the hero, and he's played by Sebastian Stan here.
Yeah, he could have been the hero. You're
A
right.
hero in the sense that it's what made everybody be able to buy the stock.
Right, and it's
so
called
easily,
Robin Hood.
right?
So, yeah.
So it was like
You want to like them too.
like when we first are introduced to them. I mean, it's kind of played for like laughs. We're supposed to like laugh at how silly they are when they get in their cars and they drive away. However, I was like, yeah, these are the guys that made it possible for everybody to buy the stock and actually fight the system. So in a way, these guys could have been the heroes. I didn't know that there was at one point a time where Robin Hood actually turned off the buy-in feature of GameStop.
Oh,
See, I didn't know this.
How do you not know that? You heard about that, right?
I remember this happening, but I don't know all the details.
Me neither. I'm right there. Like I knew.
I do remember.
Thank you.
It was a huge story.
I do too, but like, did you know that detail that Robin Hood turned off the buy-in feature? Like, I didn't know this.
This was like close enough to the time that I got commissioned for an NFT, and
Right.
I'm
You were-
not a
you were
crypto
plugged in.
person. I'm not a crypto person, but enough people in my circle were, so I was.
So that is like, I think, the biggest villain in this movie.
Oh, criminal.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I mean, so for me, I think why I enjoyed this was I was learning a lot of the finer details that I didn't know, you know? I was
And that's cool.
so angry at that point. I mean, this was their moment, and they're just going to turn off the buy-in feature because
Right.
they couldn't control it anymore.
That's not
bullshit.
why. That's not why.
I'm still angry, but why? What exactly?
So the hedge fund, not to get into the weeds on this, but the hedge fund, so Seth Rogen's hedge fund, I think, what was it called, like Melvin Capital or something, was the one that had the initial huge short position on the GameStop stock.
Right.
And you can lose money to infinity, which they explain in the movie when you take a short position.
Right.
There's no limit to how much you could lose. So he's drained his entire hedge fund. He has to get 2 outside investors, and one of them is a principal angel investor in Robin Hood. So they influenced Robin Hood and said, turn off buying on this stock. And it came out like I guess we're not spoiling anything. This is a true story. And they go over this as much in the credits. It came out that they had conversations the night before the stock buying was turned off.
Right.
It was only off for like 24 hours or something like that.
But that was enough to cause absolute panic for everybody that was holding the line as they show. If all of a sudden it's off for 24 hours and you don't know what to do, that's everything in the game. All of a sudden everybody's like, well, I better sell.
You can only sell.
Right. And everybody is like, well, we're already at this level. I might as well sell. And I'm pissed about that. And no one went to jail over this.
No shit.
For Christ's sake.
I know. It's terrible.
It was absolutely awful. So that Robin Hood guy, forget that guy.
Yeah. He's more like the sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah. So, good point. The cast, I mentioned that I really liked Pete Davidson. Who'd you like?
I can't believe you're picking Pete Davidson, but you got to go Clancy Brown, man. Anytime he pops up, you got to say, there's Clancy Brown. He's only got 1 scene or 2, right? And I don't care. Those are the best scenes in the movie.
And also America Ferrera,
she's great.
She's great in Barbie, and then she was great in this. I mean, what a hell of a year for her.
For sure.
So I really like the cast here. Lastly, how satisfied did you feel coming out of the movie with the conclusion of the film? Did you feel that they did the story justice?
Yeah.
And were you angry by the story, I guess?
Yes. So in that sense, it is a success. I'm not as high up on it as you. I was angry. I thought that there were a few chuckles. I'm not as big of a Pete Davidson fan as we're finding out you are.
I'm usually not. That's why I'm shocked.
I don't think he did
up.
anything amazing here.
Oh,
he just was Pete Davidson.
He's delivering, food for a living, and he's borrowing his
so he's playing an
car.
asshole,
I mean,
schmuck
it's just
loser.
funny
Yeah,
goofiness.
it's a real stretch for this guy. I don't know. I don't know. It was just okay, but the movie did make me angry, and it did make me remember those times, which goddamn wasn't that long ago.
No.
It was weird seeing people in the masks and having the plates in front of like the cash registers and stuff. Also, didn't really necessarily like that they went and showed a bad GameStop where a worker was being kind of harassed by his manager and stuff like that. Like, GameStop was kind of the hero in this story, like an undervalued company that was like beloved by the gamers and the internet culture. So to show them as like having a shitty manager and keeping their employees downtrodden is kind of tone deaf. Even if that's true, it was tone deaf in this story, and I didn't like that. So another complaint.
All right. How about a jaw-dropping moment or facet of the film we have not discussed?
We get to see Pete Davidson and Paul Dano's ass. So there you go. That's my jaw-dropping moment. That was nice.
Wow. All right. I went with, I got 2 listed here, but one we haven't mentioned I thought was a really nice touch is every time a new character is introduced in the film, we see what their net worth is on screen.
Yeah.
And so this starts with the hedge fund guys. It opens up with this, rich houses, and it's like net worth 600 million, net worth 1.2 billion. We get to Paul Dano, and it's like net worth, I forget what he's at.
He's like 197,000.
Yeah,
He's not broke, but he's
Right.
not rich, right?
Right. But then when it really goes the whole scope and the people who are buying into the GameStop
You get
stock,
to see that go up.
we get to see like America Fiera, net worth like $9.80 some cents, and then we get to the college students and they're like minus $180,000, and to see how everybody's net worth ended at the end of the film I thought that was a great touch.
A lot of people made a lot of money and lost a lot of money.
Movie poster quote?
I'm going with dumb money is a boring telling of a fascinating story. Maybe I'm being a little harsh on that.
Very harsh.
Yeah.
Jeez. Scratch that from the record.
All right, what do you got?
I went with a very funny film that's worth your investment.
Was it very funny?
Oh, I laughed constantly.
I don't know. There's no Margot Robbie in a bathtub, Ryan. How many Jaws are you giving this thing?
I'm going to shock you here. 3.5 Jaws for
That
dumb money.
damn
3.5 Jaws.
You're way too generous on this one. I'm going 2 Jaws. It's definitely worth watching, but just kind of middle of the road.
Oh, you're selling it short.
There's
here to
nothing
the
else out
Jawheads.
this weekend. I mean, go ahead and go see it. But
For sure, go see it. I'm saying for sure, go see it. I think it's great.
yeah, meh.
Almost a 4-Jaw movie for me.
I don't think we saw the same movie, dude.
Well,
It was just okay.
3.5 Jaws for Ride the Movie Guy.
I really wish Dan had seen it so you could break the tie here.
Well, I had downloaded Robinhood, and my free stock was Ford. And then over a year, it went up $1.
Oh,
and then I
nice.
sold it, and I made $1 on the stock market. So I think I might relate to this movie a lot.
What'd you buy with that? A White Castle? I mean the burger.
Yeah,
Yeah, the White
it's
Castle
not
burger.
not a franchise. Yeah.
Or an actual castle.
Well, White Castle, the food was banned in my household as growing up because my parents dislike onions in all contexts.
No wonder you got into punk rock.
Yeah, to rebel against the White Castle suppression.
That's exactly why I got into
Yeah.
punk rock.
Same here.
Yeah.
Check out White Castle suppression. They're playing at the Sinkhole next week.
There you go.
Something we've
stuff.
never said on the air is that Cinemajaw is also a very pro White Castle podcast.
Yeah,
We do-
somehow that's true. I don't know why.
We do
We
a
are
lot of
White
White
Castle.
Castle.
Hey, here's a little inside baseball for people who really listen to the show. The White Castle box that flew off the roof of my house after the fan expo is still in my backyard. It's just there. Every day I walk by it. We had a little party up on our rooftop. Every day I walk by it, I'm like, that was a good night.
That was fun. All right, 3.5 Jaws for Ride the Movie Guy, 2 Jaws for Matt K for Dumb Money. If you get out there and see this one or already have seen it, Jawheads, shoot us a tweet or an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com, because Paul Dano and gang fought against the system and more or less won on this one, at least put up a damn good fight.
They made a good point.
Yeah, we are doing our against the system movies, the little man versus the big guy here. Was this a tough list for you to come up with or actually difficult to narrow down there, Dan?
It kind of threw me for a loop because I was trying to consider what it meant, really.
Sure.
Like, if you meant so literally, like films that involve like actual, people rising up and disrupting something, or if it was like also including outsiders who are challenging a status quo of some kind.
I think it could be interpreted in different ways.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So mine are because I was kind of stumped on trying to find literal ones. So I was I'm a little bit more emotionally fighting the system, if you will. So
All right, let's
yeah.
kick it off with your number 5.
So my number 5 is Ocean's 11. which is another money movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely fighting the system.
Yeah.
They're fighting the casinos.
Yeah, they are still like literal criminals, but they're fighting against a bad man. So it's like it's a moral system almost. But yeah, I just watched Ocean's 11 again maybe like 2-3 weeks ago, so it was really fresh in my mind, and was like, that's a perfect one. That movie is so well directed. It's crazy. Like the editing's so cool. The performances are all really super nuanced, like really funny, but also like really nuanced, and just the way that scenes are put together is like really impressive. I think.
Who directed that? Do you remember?
Steven Soderbergh.
Oh,
It is
Soderbergh. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he did all the Ocean movies. Sell me on the other ones. I've only seen Ocean's 11. I've never bothered to see
12 and
or
13. You know
Should
what's
I?
really good is Ocean's, the one that
No, not Ocean's 8.
Ocean's 8.
Yeah, Ocean's 8.
That's not good?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. They were making a joke.
I was.
Yeah.
The sequels are good too. They kind of work off the same, toolbox, but
Formula.
yeah, they the 13, Ocean's 13, I actually think is really really solid for being the third piece, and it is surprisingly like different for a trilogy conclusion. I think they do a lot of different stuff for what that formula is, and there's a lot of fun cameos, and it kind of has the same story and narrative almost as the first movie, but just in a different sort of context.
I want to go back and watch the Frank Sinatra one, which is I've never done.
Nor have I.
It's got to be playing on TBS one day. All right, my number 5. Speaking of Robin Hood, I'm doing this. I don't think I've ever mentioned this movie before, but if we're being honest, I think we were all fans of this movie at some point. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Were we all fans?
I think so. Here's why. Alan Rickman as the Sheriff of Nottingham. This was where he said, "I'm going to cut your heart out with a spoon." Remember that?
Yeah.
He was hot off his Hans Gruber Die Hard thing, and we were like, holy shit, that was awesome. Give me more of that, please. And before his Severus Snape, and we were all like, okay, we're good now. So this was right in Alan Rickman's hotspot, and I'm not casting shade on Severus Snape. I love Snape. But we loved him, and also this was before Waterworld. So what's his name? I'm
Kevin Costner.
Thank you.
This was in Costner's hot streak.
Costner's hot streak. And I think this really elevated Morgan Freeman's career. We hadn't seen a whole lot from him in mainstream.
Before Shawshank.
Right. So this was a big break for Morgan Freeman. This was a good movie.
And it had that song in there. What was the...
No, we're not talking about Bryan Adams.
Bryan Adams song?
No.
I thought that's why you liked it so much, Matt.
No, that's why everybody doesn't remember the movie fondly. But if you can look past that, it's actually a really good movie.
I haven't seen it in the longest time. I mean...
And it spawned the
decades at this
parody
point.
Men in Tights, which
Right.
is also really good.
I thought that's what you were going to say when you brought up Robin Hood. Robin Hood Men in Tights.
It's also really good.
Yeah.
All right, my number 5 pick, and I actually wrote down the system they're fighting against. I went with 2007 Into the Wild, directed by Sean Penn, and I went with Man vs. Society.
I don't know if I've seen Into the Wild, so you have to...
But this stars Emil Hirsch, and it's really about this young guy who comes out of college.
Oh, is this
And-
the guy, he goes camping and he eats the plant? Yes, I have seen this.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, well, he doesn't just go camping. He wants to just get off the grid. He's done with basically society. That's why I say Man vs. Society. And I think why this one resonated so much, we may have all gone through this moment. I know I did for sure. I went to college. I came out with debt. I bought a car. I started a 9-to-5 job. And it was like,
This is the rest of my life.
right. And sometimes that doesn't hit a lot of people until you're actually in it. That's how it happened to me. I was like, wait a minute. Did I really sign up for this? This is what it's all about? Hold on. Where's my freedom?
Did you go to college for what you're doing?
What, podcasting?
No,
No,
your day
9 to
job.
5. No,
Yeah.
no, not at all. I was a lost kid. Like I really just went to college because my parents told me to go to college.
Right.
But then all of a sudden you're in debt and you got to work and you got to it's like wait a minute. And I think a lot of people go through that. And in this movie, this character that Emil Hirsch plays actually just says F you to society, and he's just like, I'm done with all this. He gets rid of all his money, anything that he has, and his idea is that he's going to go up to Alaska and live off the land. Of course, it doesn't quite work out for him, but the spirit is there that for some reason we've all bought into we got to do that. This is exactly how we have to live, is through the society laws that we have out there nowadays. But the truth of the matter is, I mean, you don't necessarily have to do that.
There's challenges.
It's challenging
Sure.
if you don't want to, but I enjoyed this one. Have you seen it, Dan?
I have seen that. It must be a long time ago though. I feel like I remember him. He just comes back eventually, right?
No, he doesn't. I mean, he ends up meeting his demise up in Alaska.
Right.
He ingests a plant that's poisonous and he doesn't survive.
Oh no.
It's a true story too.
It is.
Yeah. I think there's also like some mental health and introversion and some other themes going on.
But he meets a lot of interesting people on his journey. Vince Vaughn's one of them. Kristen Stewart is in the movie. There's various actors and actresses that he meets along the way. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily work out for him. But it's the spirit that
it's a bit of a tearjerker.
Be worth a rewatch.
It is worth a rewatch, and it has a great soundtrack, all done by Eddie Vedder.
Oh, I was gonna say Bryan Adams.
No, we wouldn't be talking about it then, Matt.
I think he's playing at the sinkhole.
Yeah. He's just Summer of '69, just over and over.
So that was my number 5, Into the Wild, into our 4 as we go.
I have kind of a deep cut. So if you don't know it, I'm glad to introduce you to it. So this is a documentary called The King of Kong.
Oh, dude, yeah.
You don't know?
We know.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
This
sick.
is up our alley. Sure.
Sick. Okay, yeah. I love this movie.
Hell yeah.
It's, if the listeners are not familiar, it's a documentary about a man who beats the world record for Donkey Kong on his own in his garage, and then brings it to the global like video game records association. I think they're called like Twin Galaxies or something, and he's constantly rebuffed by all of these established old school arcade gamers until he can like prove it in front of them. And there's a character, this man Billy Mitchell, who's like this insane, like he's a very proto Donald Trump character. He's got this big ego, and he's like does everything to like cheat and lie into like and manipulating people, and it's crazy, and it's a really it's an underdog story, and it's also just a really funny, uncomfortable film, and I love uncomfortable stuff, and this is like that, and it's really cool because it's like he stands up for his validity in this thing that he loves and did, so, and it's wild.
Steve Wiebe is the guy's name,
yeah,
which is just great in and of itself.
Yeah,
the movie is fantastic. It's actually probably my second favorite documentary after Exit Through the Gift Shop.
Okay, sure.
I love both of those movies. Toss up.
And I don't know if there's a trailer on the King of Kong DVD, because I don't know how I found out about that, but I got the DVD when it came out, and then the trailer for Anvil, the story of Anvil, which is an incredible music documentary.
We reviewed that here on the podcast.
Yeah, that movie's awesome.
That is another really good one. All right. That swings it to my number 4. Ryan, do you remember the movie Logan's Run?
Still haven't seen it. Wrote it down. You mentioned it earlier this year, and I wrote it down again in my current journal. I am going to get to it.
Logan's Run, Michael York plays a cop, right? And the conceit in this science fiction world that he lives in is that you at the age of 30, you go through this trial where you float toward the ceiling, but really it's just a giant human zapper. You die. People are executed at the age of 30. They're told they could win and achieve eternal life, but nobody does. So he's been enforcing this rule his whole life until suddenly his time is up and he's 30 years old and he's like, no, fuck that. I'm not going to get zapped by the light. I'm going to make a run for it. So he becomes a runner, which are the people he used to hunt down and kill. But suddenly him and some beautiful blonde by his side go running through the halls of this science fiction town. They have the coolest guns in this movie. The flames come out the side of the gun and they make the coolest noise. I think like the hallmark of a good science fiction world is the laser gun. The weapons. So Logan's Run's a classic. Fighting against society.
You've mentioned it a few times on the jaw, and I want to see it. I will get to it eventually. I just haven't caught up with it yet.
It's classic.
My number 4 is a movie I think you've seen, and I think you've even maybe read the graphic novel it's based on. It's the 2007 animated film Persepolis.
Okay. I thought you were about to steal my number one.
Oh,
yeah.
But Persepolis.
Persepolis is awesome, dude. Yes.
And this is a young girl basically fighting against a new regime, political regime. It takes over Iran, and we get to see these conservative views start to take over, and she's into the whole punk rock, Western culture music scene. And we basically see how this young girl still thrives following her, dreams and her interests, even when everything around her is telling her that you can't like this anymore.
Yeah.
And closing in on her. But she still sort of fights through. And basically the movie's very interesting on the story of her life and how she got out of Iran for a little while and so forth. But when we're talking about fighting against the system, it would be a young girl against a new political regime.
Yeah, it's a good one, dude.
If you haven't seen it, very interesting animated film.
I haven't watched the movie. I've read the book.
Oh,
yeah.
See the movie.
I know. I got
It's
to.
awesome.
Okay.
It's a really good one. That's my number 4 pick. Into our 3s we go.
I picked Wes Anderson's Rushmore, which is, I think, a sort of a coming of age kind of fighting against it's teen angst fighting against his school and the adults in his life, and that's like one of my favorite coming of age teen movies. It meant a lot to me when I saw it when I was a teenager, and I still like find that to be a movie that I come back to like on a gloomy day. It really cheers me up. It's such a like heartening story, and a great character, Jason Schwartzman, amazing performance.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Max Fisher.
Yeah. No arguments for me, man.
You're
That's
never
a
going
great
to get an
movie.
argument if you bring up a Wes Anderson movie on this show.
You might, but not that one.
Yeah.
You're safe there. All right. I'm going Rock and Roll High School, goddammit. I know I evoked the name earlier. I guess that's why, because it was on my mind. I put it on my list. Riff Randall rebelling against her school, which is quintessential teenage angst. And the Ramones are in the movie, and they blow up the school, and it's no more needs to be said about Rock and Roll High School. Fighting against the system. That's the first system we all encounter. High school. Yeah.
Great song. Great title song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched the whole movie?
No.
It's surprisingly good.
Yeah, okay.
Clint Howard, Ron Howard's brother, plays like Yoda, the Yoda in the movie. He's like got an office in the bathroom, and he gets all the kids like fake hall passes and stuff.
Oh, that's funny.
It's amazing. Watch the movie.
All right.
If you're into punk, I think it's kind of a requisite.
Okay.
My number 3 pick is a movie I just watched this week. It came out in 2023. It's on Hulu right now, Jawheads. It's entitled How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty new, right?
It is. I told you it came out this year, and it's on Hulu. And it is about these activists who are trying to fight against big oil, who are doing damage to the environment. And their idea, I'm not going to necessarily endorse their idea, but it is to basically get some explosives together and blow up the pipeline in Texas in a couple different areas to let the big oil company know that they're not getting away with, dirtying up the environment and not following regulations. The film is extremely intense because these are activists that are not bomb makers by, trade. And so they're learning how to make bombs, and you're getting these flashbacks on these characters as it leads up to their big moment. And you're actually, almost sweating for these characters because they're using massive explosions. They don't know what the hell they're doing. There's drones that go overhead in Texas to watch out for pipeline type stuff, and they don't know what's going on.
That's
and
really dangerous.
Yes, so they're way in over their heads. So the film is very intense and ends with a bang. Let's say that. It's on Hulu now. I recommend this one.
Also
how to blow up a pipeline.
Based on true story?
No, I mean, I think it has been, but I don't. I have throw it in the fish tank, Phil. I shouldn't overstep. I was going to say I don't believe that this is like a specific event that it's based on. But,
okay.
Yeah. Number 2s.
For my number 2, again, not a very literal system, but I picked Rocky, which is the ultimate underdog story, and he's fighting. I feel like not only sort of against like a classist sort of like definition of him and like his expectations of him, but then and the working class life in Philadelphia. But I watched Rocky, actually the whole franchise, recently with my girlfriend, and it is like one of the greatest film characters ever. She was blown away. Like, she had not seen the films and was like really surprised by how, like, it's a movie about a man who loves his wife. Like, that's like the like ultimately, like, you peel it back and it's like such a great romance movie. And he's like such a sweet man, and it's awesome. Incredible film. Like, the writing is insane, and I can't believe he like created that character and wrote that character and then continued to direct those movies, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
We've had many discussions about Rocky.
We have.
Yeah. We always land on the fact that I think it's got lampooned because it's such ingrained into our culture, and people just know it. It's like, oh, it's Rocky. If, like your girlfriend in this instance, if you haven't seen the movie and you watch the original one, it's a damn near perfect film. It's awesome. It's literally an awesome flick.
Yeah. They go downhill a bit, if we're being honest.
Right.
Yeah.
But that first one and the creation of the character is the ultimate
I even
underdog.
like the Tommy Gunn one. I'm going to go ahead and say it.
Right.
It's got its moments, dude.
All right, just get to your number 2 at this point.
All right. At number 2, it's another movie about sabotage. I'm going with Fincher's Fight Club. This is the one that taught us, like, you are not the contents of your wallet. You are not what's in your bank account. Like,
it's man versus consumerism.
Yeah, and just it's man versus a lot of things, and a lot of people have said that I forget how to pronounce Chuck Palahniuk. Is that how you say it? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what I'm going with. They've said his novel is about toxic masculinity. You can make that case. I get it. I don't think that's what the movie is about necessarily, although there's an element of that in there, because not all masculinity is toxic. You know, sometimes you just want to break something. You know. And I don't know, that's just an honest emotion, and Fincher puts it across the screen. And to this day, when the Pixies start to play and the buildings are coming down, I think that might be one of the greatest movie endings
it's a great
of
one.
all time. I mean, it's certainly up there.
For sure.
So, there, Fight Club.
Had to come up on this list. It was an honorable mention of mine. I figured somebody would mention Fight Club when we're talking man versus the system.
Fighting against everything, right?
Right.
Yeah.
My number 2 is a film maybe we've talked about before on Cinemajaw, but it's been some time if we have. Came out in 2005. It won Rachel Weisz an Oscar back in the day. It's called The Constant Gardener.
Wow.
And
I forgot about this movie.
This
dude.
is a man and his wife, Ralph Fiennes and Rachel Weisz, fighting against Big Pharma. And what they come to find out is that in Africa, some of these pharmaceutical companies are actually testing their drugs on people in these small villages unknowingly. They don't even let them know that they're taking an experimental drug. So they're almost treating them in a way like almost like lab animals, you know, like, here, let's try this on this
without consent,
with this whole entire village and see if this, you know, particular drug works with any type of side effects. Rachel Weisz's character finds this out and is then murdered by, you know, their hitmen, if you will. Never know exactly who. Ralph Fiennes plays a character, her husband, who then picks up her work and figures out like what she was onto and then brings it to light and so forth. Intense watch, very good and extremely interesting because it's based not necessarily on the exact story, but stories that have been found out that pharmaceutical companies are testing these
this
on
is absolutely happening.
Yes, and it's scary as hell. You know,
it's terrible.
Absolutely. If you haven't seen The Constant Gardener, like I said, we haven't talked about it much on Cinemajaw. Well worth a spin. See if it's streaming anywhere, will you, Phil? The Constant Gardener.
It's way more hardcore than the title would have you.
Right.
Right. I was gonna say it's a terrible title.
Yes. What we're gonna do is take a break. Sound good?
Yeah.
Leave the number ones hanging, and we got some trivia to play as well.
Sounds good.
Yes. Stick with us, Jawheads.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Tom Cruise, step aside. Michelle Yeoh is a legend for her stunt work. She's done things that made Jackie Chan panic, like her famous truck-to-convertible stunt in Super Cop, which she told Entertainment Weekly about in this interview.
Super Cop. Wow. That movie, when I watched it,
back because we were dubbing it for the American market. I swear, I was going, what was I thinking? I was swinging at the side of trucks. I was riding a motorcycle onto a moving train. I was doing the most insane stunts that even stunt people would say, you are insane. I remember the worst stunt where we could have had a very tragic accident in that movie. You can see it in the outtakes later on, is when I am on top of the truck, the van, and the bad guys are shooting at me. And so I'm rolling off, and Jackie is coming up behind the van with his convertible. And I have to roll off the van onto his convertible, and then he brakes and I roll off. What was supposed to happen was the windscreen was supposed to shatter, and that would have helped me have a break. But the windscreen didn't shatter. I had nowhere to hold on to, and I kept sliding off the car. And if you watch the outtakes, you can see Jackie panic. He can see me going off, and I'm like floundering. He reaches over and he literally just gets me. Luckily, I think he saved my head by my shirt. And I slid off and I landed. And another stunt boy came running out to try and see what he could do. He slipped. He had a bad concussion and he was carted off to the hospital. All I remember was like dung on the ground. And then I hear someone come up beside me, and Stanley Tong. And he said to me very quietly, he said, "What do you think?" And I looked at him, I go, "Let's go now." You know when you fall off a horse, you jump back right away. If we had stopped the shoot, go away, thought about it, I wouldn't have gotten back up. Because hesitation creates accidents.
Sparkling drinks, it all colored dandy, 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 dandy.
And we are back on Cinemajaw, hanging out with Dan Stewart. His new film is making the festival circuit. It is entitled Local Band. It's a punk rock movie. We like it here on Cinemajaw. Before we get to our number one picks on Man Fighting the System and play some trivia, we threw some items into the fish tank, Matt.
We did. We do that occasionally.
We do. Let's open up that fish tank.
Wait a moment! It's fish! Isn't it?
DC! Wake up! Wake up! No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, get some fish folk.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hello, it is so wonderful to be out here looking up the stuff that we don't know. And I gotta say, I love it. Everybody knows. I love it when there's like interesting hot takes. Maybe not even hot takes, but just like cool. There's like stuff underneath the surface, you know? You pick the scab and the blood comes out.
Jeez, that's graphic, Phil.
That's what I think of. You guys don't. So our first question is how to blow up a pipeline based on anything. And the answer is that it's complicated. It is not based on any one thing.
It's like an amalgam.
Yeah. There is a book from 2021 also titled How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
See, now that's a good title, unlike The Constant Gardener. If they had made The Constant Gardener called How to Blow Up a Pipeline, more people would have seen it.
Or like Pharma Assassins.
Yeah, there you go.
Good.
I would have been there. That sounds like it's on Tubi, you know?
It probably is.
I got to look that
That's
up
a
on
Tubi
Just
movie
Watch.
for sure.
There is a book of nonfiction written by Andreas Malm, and the movie is not based on this book at all. If anything, I think the book is maybe a little more Pharma Assassins than the movie even. It's difficult to categorize, at least for me, because the book is kind of like, at least from what I can gather, an essay of sorts, explaining why climate reform is necessary and that sabotage is one of the best ways to handle this at this point to get the issue taken seriously, which is fascinating that that's something that we're saying and that it's getting published. I'm not against it.
And
I'm just
they made a
surprised
movie.
that
yeah,
that we're allowing that to happen like it just seems like there's so many people
There should
who
be
would
outrage.
be like,
yeah.
yeah,
There probably
I'm,
was.
I'm for it, but I'm still shocked that there's not other people who aren't. But then there's also a couple of instances of the Dakota Access Pipeline getting vandalized that were inspirations for this film as well. Yeah, so not just one thing.
Right.
It's like they took the best parts of everything. They made a stone soup of pipeline
and blew it up.
Sabotage. Yeah. And then our second question is the Constant Gardener streaming? And this to me is crazy. No, it is not streaming anywhere.
I've seen the movie. It was streaming at one point.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But sometimes they drop off these services and you can't see them anywhere.
This one is shocking to me. I mean, you can rent it in all the usual places, but
no streamers.
No
this
streams.
is like somebody's got to own this. How is this not anywhere?
Weird.
It's because the pharmaceutical companies own all the streamers somewhere.
That's
you know?
it.
There's
Those
money
damn
everywhere.
Pharma got assassinated.
It's almost like it just falls into that sort of category of movies where it's like it's just like out of the cultural moment enough to where it's like if you really want to watch it, they're like, oh, you're gonna pay to rent it. You know, they're kind of banking on it not being a streaming headliner, if you will.
Yeah. I noticed, just for instance, on that note, The Equalizer with Denzel.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 of them now. Just the third one just came out. And I hadn't seen any of the Equalizers. So I thought, all right, I'll watch The Equalizer. Well, guess what? The first one's not streaming anywhere unless you want to rent it. Because they know, like, there's probably people like me that are like, all right, I'll watch the first Equalizer. It's been on Netflix all the time, you know. I've seen it, and I've never hit play on it.
It's like, why the hell do we pay for these services?
Right, and now when it's like, all right, I'll watch the first one. Oh, well, you can rent it for $4. What? Yeah, so I didn't do it, you know. Gotta fight the system, man.
There you go.
You'd think they would do something else, right? Like the amount of people that they're losing who wanted to watch The Equalizer.
It's most
and
of us.
You're spoiling. You're telling everyone the pro strat is to just never watch The Equalizer now, idiots.
Yeah. Let's get together, jawheads. Let's fight the system. We're
We know
fighting the
you're-
streamers here on Cinemajaw. Good stuff. Was that everything, Phil?
That's all we got for me.
All right. Before we close up the fish tank, couple of notes. Next week on the show, we're looking at reviewing The Creator. I'm seeing this one tomorrow. Totally stoked. And we might also fit in a review of Flora and Son.
Oh, cool.
Sound good?
Yeah.
And our guest right now is scheduled to be Claire Cooney. Who
Very cool. Another
has-
Chicago local filmmaker.
Yes, who is going to have a film open the Chicago International Film Fest midnight screenings called Departing Seniors. And that brings us to our second bit of information. The Chicago International Film Festival is taking place on October 11th. It opens up with a block party right in front of the Music Box Theater, right on Southport there. Opening film, We Grown Now, followed by Departing Seniors, Claire Cooney's film. We're going to be there for sure.
Yeah, we'll be lucky if we make it to the midnight screening, though.
I know.
With
We're-
the beer truck.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a real
There is
problem.
beer at the block party, so look out, jawheads. But if you're planning to attend, reach out to us. I'd like to say hi to some of the local Chicago jawheads. And also fits in great with Dan here, local filmmakers looking to mingle and learn at the fest.
Workshop.
There is Industry Days that takes place, and they wanted to mention the dates of that is October 12th through the 15th, and they have guest speakers come on. They've had everybody from Darren Aronofsky to the director Steve McQueen and so forth come and do talks. Local filmmakers get together. Great time to, talk shop.
Yeah.
And
network.
Meet people.
Yeah,
network.
for sure.
I don't know. Have you ever done Industry Days here at Chicago International?
I haven't. There was I did have some friends screening. Actually, a film I worked on screened at the last SIF. It was a short called Dirtbag, directed by Karsten Rundquist.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, I was the first AD on that. That was a fun one.
All right, we got to talk about that later.
Yeah. But do, jawheads, if do in fact go to Industry Days, if you're a local filmmaker, it's great. So,
cool.
Sound good?
Yeah, do it.
All right, jump back in that fish tank, Phil.
You bet.
We left off at our number ones. How dare we? Number one pick for Man vs. the System. Dan, what do you got?
Okay, so another kind of unusual one, but this is one of my favorite films ever. It's very special to me. It's the movie that I usually tell people is the one that made me want to go to film school and pursue film as a career. And that's Donnie Darko.
I love this movie.
And I think there's a lot of, again, it's in the line of like Rushmore is like the teen angst. It's sort of, you know, being against the status quo of your hometown and your parents and school and all that. And also sort of, I guess in that film, it's like he's fighting against some sort of supernatural like mission.
Dark forces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just an incredible movie. My like tradition is on Halloween day, I will always watch Donnie Darko every year.
Every Halloween, huh?
Every Halloween. And it's every time I still love it. And it's funny and it's strange and it's inspired. I like the soundtrack is one of like, I'm a big fan of post-punk and new wave music and like Echo and the Bunnymen and INXS and Joy Division and stuff. And like, it just shaped so much about what I really love about movies and yeah, it's the best.
We just talked about this one when we had unconventional coming-of-age movies, and I brought up Donnie Darko. So, yeah, it's a film we love here on Cinemajaw.
Absolutely. Yeah. You'll get no arguments out of me. I love Donnie Darko. I got another graphic novel at number 1. I think probably everybody saw this one coming. I don't know of a better symbol for anarchy these days to you know, other than the A circled to your grandma, right? To Joe Schmo, who's not necessarily against the system, than the Guy Fawkes mask. It has become like synonymous with, you know, fighting against the system. Like the hacker group Anonymous uses it as their symbol. It comes from the Alan Moore graphic novel V for Vendetta, which was adapted into a film starring Natalie Portman, Hugo Weaving. And is the movie as good as the graphic novel? Debatable, but it's a damn good movie. It is a damn good movie. That graphic novel moved me. It really did. It's up there, like top 3 for sure.
Remember.
The 5th of November, yes. The gunpowder, treason, and plot. I forget the rest of it. But that's a damn good movie. It's about sabotage. It's about how anarchy is a useful tool. I'm not gonna get on my anarchy soapbox, you guys, but I like that movie. It's a damn good one.
The Wachowskis, too.
Was it the Wachowskis?
It really was.
Wow, I forgot that.
Right after The Matrix, which a lot of people could say is fighting the system.
Could go on this list.
Comes right back with V for Vendetta. So great pick at number 1. Mine, I think is, I was hoping no one would mention my number 1 because...
The screenplay was the Wachowskis. It was not directed. It was directed by James McTeague.
Ooh, good. Thanks for correcting.
Yes.
But I knew it was the Wachowskis were involved in that movie.
They were. I didn't know that. Interesting.
My number 1, I thought, boy, someone's going to bring this up. Maybe talk about it earlier on the list so it doesn't get ruined. But you guys didn't bring it up. Bong Joon-ho, the master himself, made a great fighting against the system movie. In 2013, he gave us Snowpiercer. And this is on the train. The fight here is the lower class fighting for a better life. And it is quite literal on this train that is basically a frozen earth. You can't live outside this train anymore, and the train has to keep running. And it's circling the globe. And the lower class citizens on the train are put on the back end of the train, the caboose, if you will. And they are fed terrible food. It's kind of a spoiler if I tell you exactly what it is, but they're eating something that you don't really want to be eating, and their life is just no good. And they want to fight to get to the front of the car, much like the lower class wants to fight to get a better life.
Right.
You want to live on the top floor at some point in your life. And so this one is quite literally a fight as we get Chris Evans, who stars in the film, and these rebels coming from the back of the train, making their way all the way up to the front to finally talk to a whacked out Tilda Swinton in this film. Plays a great role in here. I love Snowpiercer. I catch it on, we mentioned Tubi TV, but it also is playing a lot for some reason on Pluto TV, where you're just, you know.
They made a series, didn't they?
They did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Never watched it. I can't vouch at all for the series, but I'll see on Pluto TV Snowpiercer's playing, and it's one of those films I'll throw on for 20, 30 minutes and just amazing filmmaking by Bong Joon-ho. It's a great film. If you haven't seen Snowpiercer, I love it.
He's a master.
Like pretty much all of his movies have that theme of
They do.
of class warfare.
100%. I mean, obviously, Parasite, which
Except maybe The Host.
I remember thinking that The Host at least had something in there. Like I don't remember what it is, so don't like quiz me. But I remember thinking like, oh man, even when he does like this monster movie, there's still a little bit of this.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, Parasite for sure.
Yeah.
And Snowpiercer, 100%. Both those are very similar kind of themes. So that was my number one. Honorable mentions, I have none because Matt mentioned all three of my honorable mentions on his list. So I actually do not have a film here to talk about.
I got a couple. Rapid fire. 21, the movie about the
Vegas?
Yeah.
Hey, good one. Fighting against the system of
right.
Yeah.
Just like Ocean's 11. Dallas Buyers Club. Another one
Good
against Big Pharma. We said The Matrix. Hunger Games. There you go. I don't know how good those movies are, though. I mean, The Hunger Games.
Yeah. They didn't age well.
They're okay. Like the first one's okay.
There's another one coming out.
I know. Looks kind of dumb.
I'm over it. Yeah, I'm like, jeez. Well, we'll probably see it for Cinemajaw, but if I was just a fan of the
It's
movies,
a prequel.
I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
All right, Jawheads, if we missed your favorite Man versus the System film and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw or an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com. It's time to play some trivia, Matt.
All right.
Let's go.
Dan, you ready?
Yeah.
Dan, you seem very competitive. Matt always likes to tell the guests, I'm not very competitive.
Sometimes guests get uncomfortable, you know?
I mean, we just met Dan, but he seems very tense, like he's ready to go.
I just don't want to fail and look like I don't know anything about movies.
You know plenty about movies, dude. You made a great movie.
Thank you.
All right. In honor of Dumb Money, we're playing Money Movie Trivia. These movies have money in the title.
Got it.
All right. You're our guest, Dan. You get to choose if you want to go first or let Matt go first. There are steals if the person doesn't know it. And they do start off easy.
Okay, then I'll go first.
Question number one over to Dan. Here we
Okay.
go. In 1986, Tom Cruise and Paul Newman starred in this movie about billiards.
The Color of Money.
That is correct.
Scene
Damn it,
shot
that's
at
the
Gina
only-
Tavern, my hometown bar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
1-0. Great film.
Yeah.
That was the one money movie I knew, so now I'm screwed.
Question two over to Matt K. Matt, in 2017, this actor replaced Kevin Spacey in the film All the Money in the World.
Oh, wasn't it Christopher Plummer?
That is correct. 1-1. Everybody perfect on the easy ones. Question three. Brad Pitt stars in one baseball movie. Name it.
Moneyball.
Dan is correct.
That was the other money movie.
Yeah.
I thought of it when I was answering the last question.
2-1, Dan. Question four over to Matt K. Matt, speaking of sports, in 2005, Matthew McConaughey teamed up with this Godfather 2 actor in the film Two for the Money.
Specifically Godfather 2?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that this actor was also in Godfather 2. That's all I'm saying.
2 for the Money?
Two for the Money. Matthew McConaughey and who?
Man. So I'm guessing it's not Robert De Niro. I would remember that. So it's either Robert Duvall or James Caan would be my guess. I'll say Bobby Duvall.
You blew it!
It's not John Cazale. I know that. For obvious reasons. James Caan is.
Did they kill Fredo in the first Godfather, or was that the second Godfather?
I was looking for Al Pacino.
It was Al Pacino. Okay.
Al Pacino.
Two for the Money.
Yeah.
I know that.
Matthew McConaughey, Al Pacino. Nobody.
Wow.
Weird.
It's still 2-1, Dan, and question 5 is over to him. What was the full name of the Wall Street sequel that came out in 2010? We need the full name.
I know this because I think it's really funny. This is Wall Street 2, Money Never Sleeps.
That is perfect. What a terrible title, right?
Wall Street 2, The Constant Gardener.
Wall Street 2, Money Never Sleeps is correct. Absolutely terrible title. It is now, I lost score here, 4-1? 3-1.
3-1.
3-1, Dan. Question 6 is over to Matt K. Matt, name the clueless actress who appeared with Damon Wayans in the 1992 classic Mo Money.
I'm guessing it's not Alicia Silverstone or Paul Rudd. Those are just like, I'm throwing that out there as a guess. Shit.
Which actor from Clueless also starred with Damon Wayans in 1992's Mo Money?
I can't remember her name.
Can't remember her name.
I really just, I don't know. I'm going to pass.
That is incorrect.
Damn it. I needed that one.
Incorrect. Dan, you got a chance to blow this thing wide open. Do you got a guess on this?
I know. I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about because I'm pretty sure it's the character that Alicia Silverstone,
Like her best friend.
Yeah. I know she's a prominent actress, and I don't remember her name.
Or it's a trick question, and it is Alicia Silverstone.
No, it was Stacey Dash.
Stacey
Dash.
Stacey Dash. Still 3-1, Dan. Question 7 is over to him. He can win it right here.
I wouldn't say she's a prominent actor, though.
No.
Those are pretty much her two roles, right?
She did pop up again politically. She made some statements, or I forget exactly what, but she was in the news again in the last couple of years. She might have like a talk show or something. I don't know.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Her interview on the Eric Andre show is pretty funny.
Yeah.
She's been around. She's in the news for sure. That's all I can say.
Good.
Dan, in 2016, George Clooney and Julia Roberts starred in this Jodie Foster directed movie.
Money Monster?
Holy crap. Dan knows his money.
Yeah, see, you know your stuff,
I don't
dude.
know. I was like, when you mentioned the category, all the movies that I just answered about were all the ones that came to mind, and I was like, is he going to ask about Money Never Sleeps? Because that would be hilarious.
You got to, of course.
You have to.
Wow. Well, this game is over at this point. Dan is winning 4-1. The last question is to Matt Kay.
All right.
Save some face here, Matt.
Let's see if I can.
In 1995, Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson starred in a film with this plot. A vengeful New York City transit cop decides to steal a trainload of subway fares. His foster brother, a fellow cop, tries to protect him. Name that movie, Matt.
Are you kidding?
No. Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes.
This White Man Can't Jump. Did they do another movie?
Incorrect. There is another movie out there, and it has money in the title.
You're shitting me.
And it also has Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. It's White Man Can't Jump 2, Money Never Sleeps.
There was a second collaboration between these two?
Now at this point, you got me second guessing, but we were looking for Money Train.
Money Train.
Can you look up the cast on Money Train,
I mean,
Phil?
dude, how do I not know about this movie? Seriously.
Now you guys are so shocked that you have me second guessing.
Is it a real thing,
it's not
Phil?
Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. Am I right on this?
Both of these two people are in it.
Oh, wow.
I just slipped into a parallel dimension where I swear to God, this movie didn't exist when I woke up this
Money
morning.
Train.
You got a Money Mandela effect.
For real.
Yeah.
I mean, how do I not know about this?
Watch it tonight, Matt.
I just might. And was it a 90s movie too?
1995.
Are you shitting me?
No.
The White Man Can't Jump was like a huge movie. They collaborate again in 95 and I don't know about it?
We learn something new here on Cinemajaw all the time.
Wow. Weird. That's just weird.
Can I get a handshake?
Yeah.
We don't even have to do it virtually this time. Look at
Well
this.
done, sir.
Inside
Well
the
done.
studio, a real handshake. It comes down to, if it did come down to a tie, or we call it a jawbreaker here, age of Wesley Snipes closest to. What do you got here, Matt?
Wait, before he was thawed out of
No.
Demolition Man? All right. Wesley Snipes has got to be... Dude, he might be pushing 60 by now. Late 50s. I'm going to say 57 years old.
Lock him in at 57. Dan, you got to guess.
That's pretty good. I guess I don't think he's like in his 60s, so I'm going to have to undercut. Yeah. So I'm going to say 52.
Dan, he's in his 60s.
Oh, wow.
61 for Wesley Snipes.
Oh, wow.
Shocking.
He looks great.
Great job.
Yeah. He's back. He was in that Eddie Murphy movie, Dolomite.
Yeah, that's right. They need to make another Blade movie and have him come and pass the torch to the person who plays Blade in the Marvel Universe.
Well, He'll be Uncle Blade or something. Yeah.
He could be the Yoda type. I don't know. It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, it brings us to the end of a very fun and entertaining Jaw. Dan, thanks for coming on. Great meeting you. Congratulations on the film.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We also got to thank our editor, our engineer, Phil.
Thank you so much. This is the last week I will plug the Pancakes and Booze art show at Reggie's in Bridgeport because it's coming up. Then one more thing.
When is it, Phil? When is it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, September 29th and 30th. So by the time this drops, it'll be Friday and Saturday of this week.
So do it.
In October, I also got accepted into the Mesfi Misfits Club zine. There is a digital copy you can get anywhere, as well as an alternate copy physically that you can get at various zine stores in Chicago, Madison, Wisconsin, and Seattle, Washington.
Quimby's, Chicago Comics. Both places, yeah.
But also, if you do get if you live somewhere where you can get the physical one, I have two pieces. There's two different paintings I have, and one of them, they're different. So the digital copy has one of those pieces, and the...
So collect them all, trade with your friends. Is what
Yeah.
Can you give us the link, and we'll put it in the show notes?
You bet.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
Hey, you know what else people should do? Wherever you're listening to this, hit subscribe. It doesn't cost a thing, and it really does help. So just pull your phone out, click a button for us.
It sure does. And the last people we want to thank is our Patreons. Thank you for supporting the show.
Well, they're not the last people we want to thank.
Well, I mean, not the last people, but the last people today that we saved the best for last. Right. Great way to say it. Our Patreons for supporting the show means the world to us, and it would mean the world to us if you join us on Patreon. Just go over to patreon.com/Cinemajaw. You get our full archive of shows and bonus content. So
it's good. It's fun.
It is. I recorded some extra stuff for movies that I saw at the Toronto International Film Festival. Putting that out on Patreon.
See? We got bonus content dropping all the time.
All the time. So join us over on Patreon. Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt K.
And keep on jawing about the movies.